It is a Tuesday afternoon in the last week of June. The thermometer nailed to my barn reads 96 degrees. Somewhere not far from you, a man is sitting in his living room with the air conditioner running. It is not shut off since 7 o'clock this morning. He opens the little app on his telephone, and he looks at what he owes the power company this month, $140. Last month it was $180. The month before that, $150. And every weatherman in the country is telling him the same thing. This is going to be the hottest summer anyone has written down. I will tell you something, friend. Right now, as you watch this, millions of families are caught in that same heat. 1 home in 6 is already behind on the light bill. Folks are sitting in the dark of their own kitchens doing the arithmetic, deciding between the grocery money and the cooling money. And the machine humming in the window is the most expensive thing they own to run. My house is cool today. It was cool last July and the July before that, and I have never in my life paid $1 to a power company to make it so. Neither did my father. Neither did his father. Our farmhouse here in Holmes County has stood for over 100 years without a single air conditioner. And the people in it slept fine through summers harder than the one outside your window right now. I am a carpenter. 43 years building barns and houses and the things that go in them. And what I have learned in all those years is that a house is not just a box you cool with a machine. A house, if a man builds it right and lives in it right, will cool itself the way they did it for thousands of years before there was a wire running to the wall. Today, I am going to show you how. Not one trick, 8 of them. Some you can do this very afternoon for nothing. Some cost a few dollars and a Saturday. By the time we are done, you will understand your own house better than the man who sold it to you. And you will know how to get through this summer running that machine half as much or not at all. Most folks who do what I am about to show you save somewhere between $300 and $500 across one summer. So pour yourself something cold and stay with me. We will take them one at a time, and I will not rush. One short word before I start. Because I am an honest man, and I will not waste your time with a thing that does not work. Everything I show you today is real. It is not a folk story. The old builders did not have machines, so they had to understand heat itself, where it comes from, how it moves, how to turn it away. That understanding got written down in farm diaries and builders' manuals, and the same things were measured again by university men with instruments. And the numbers agree with what my grandfather knew in his hands. I will give you those numbers as we go, so you know I am not making it up. And the methods are not all equal in every place. Some work better in dry country than in wet. I will tell you plainly which is which as we come to them. I would rather you trust me on 8 honest methods than oversell you on one. Now, the first one, and it is the most important, because the English get it backward almost every single time. Method 1. Stop the sun outside the glass. Here is the thing most folks never stop to think about. The heat in your house in summer does not mostly come through the walls. It comes through the windows. It comes in as sunlight. Let me tell you how it works, because once you understand it, everything else today makes sense. Sunlight is energy. When it strikes the glass of your window, most of it passes straight through, the same as it passes through the air. But the moment it lands on something inside, your floor, your couch, your rug, it stops being light and turns into heat. And here is the trap. That heat cannot easily get back out through the glass the way the light came in. So it stays. It builds. Your room becomes a box that catches sunlight and turns it into a furnace. The men of science have a name for it. They call it the greenhouse. It is the same reason a closed motor car bakes in a parking lot. Now here is where the English go wrong. They feel the hot window, and they pull a curtain across it on the inside, and they think they have done something. But friend, by the time the sunlight hits that curtain, it is already inside your house. It already came through the glass. The curtain gets warm, the room stays warm, and they have fixed nothing. The old builders knew the secret, and it is plain. You must stop the sun before it reaches the glass. On the outside, not the inside. Outside. This is the oldest cooling idea there is. The Egyptians hung wet reeds and cloth across their window openings 4,000 years ago to break the sun before it entered. The Persians built whole walls to throw shade. Every hot country on earth figured out the same thing independent of the others, because the sun is the same everywhere. Break it outside the glass. How do you do it on your own house? The old way is a shutter or an awning, a simple frame of wood with a piece of canvas stretched over it, hung on two hinges above the window, angled out to throw the glass into shade. The university men measured what this does. An awning over a window that faces west, the worst window, where the hard afternoon sun comes in low and mean, stops about 3/4 of the sun's heat before it ever touches the glass. 3/4. On a south window, about 2/3. Now the cost. A yard of canvas, $1 or $2 at any fabric store, or an old painter's drop cloth you already have. 2 hinges, a couple dollars. Some scrap lumber, which a carpenter always has and a neighbor will give you. Under $20 for your very worst window. And if you are handy, you can fix it in place in an afternoon. Start with the west side of your house. That is where the afternoon sun comes in and turns your evening into misery. Shade those windows first, then the south. You do not have to do every window in one day. Do the worst one. Sit in that room the same evening, and you will feel it. My father shaded every west window on this farm with frames he built in his own shop. He used to say the sun is a guest you greet at the door. You do not let him walk clear into the kitchen and sit down. That is the first method, and it is the foundation of all the rest. Turn the sun away before it gets in. The second method costs you nothing at all, not 1 cent. But there is a right way and a wrong way, and most folks do the wrong way without ever knowing it. The wrong way is to throw open all your windows in the heat of the day because you feel hot and you want air. But think about it, friend. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the air outside is hotter than the air inside. When you open that window, you are not letting coolness in. You are inviting the heat in through your own front window. You are making it worse with your own hands. Here is what the old farm families did, and it is built on one simple truth. The night is free. Even in the worst heat wave, the air at night drops down into the 60s or low 70s in most of this country, well below what your house holds inside during the day. That cool night air is a gift, and the old people knew how to catch it and keep it. So here is the rhythm, and I want you to learn it like a habit, because it is the single most powerful thing in this whole video, and it costs nothing. At sundown, when the outside air finally drops below the inside air, you open the house wide. Not just one window. You open low windows on the cool, shaded side of the house, and you open high windows upstairs or up high on the far side. Now, why high and low? Because hot air rises. The hot air that built up in your house all day climbs and pours out the high windows, and as it leaves, it pulls the cool night air in through the low ones. The house breathes all night long. If you have a fan, set it in an upstairs window blowing out, and it will pull the whole night through the house like a chimney. Then, and this is the part nobody remembers, at first light, before the day has any heat in it, you close everything. Every window, every shade. You seal the house up tight while it is still full of the cool of the night. The walls are cool. The floors are cool. The furniture is cool. And a closed-up house full of cool will hold that cool for hours, the same way a cellar does, because all those cool surfaces drink the heat out of the air as the day warms. You do not open a thing until evening comes again. A house run on this rhythm stays 70 to 75 degrees inside when it is 95 outside. I have measured it. The university men have measured it. Families that learn this rhythm and hold to it cut their cooling bill by 40 to 60 cents on the dollar. On an average summer cooling bill of around $780, that is $300 to $400 saved, for the price of getting up at dawn to shut a few windows. One more small thing my uncle taught me, and it is almost a magic trick. If you open the low window only a hand's width and the far high window all the way wide, the air is forced to rush through that narrow low opening to fill the big one. It speeds up. You can stand in front of that little gap and feel it on your skin like a breeze from a fan. And there is no fan. Same windows, no cost. Just understanding the way air wants to move. That is the second method. Catch the night and lock it in before the day can steal it. The third method is right over your head, and most people go their whole lives and never once climb up to look at it. On a hot summer afternoon, the attic of a closed-up house can reach 150 degrees. I am not stretching that for you. The roofing men measure it every day. The sun beats on the roof passes that heat down into the attic, and with no way out, the heat just piles up in there. 150 degrees, sitting on top of your ceiling like a hot flat iron resting on a folded shirt. And then you wonder why the bedrooms upstairs never cool down at night. You cannot cool a house with an oven strapped to the top of it. Now look at a barn. A barn never has this trouble. Walk into any barn on a hot day and the air up in the peak is moving. Why? Because a barn is built to breathe. There are vents down low at the eaves and a vent up high at the peak. The hot air rises and walks right out the top on its own, and cooler air draws in down low to replace it. No machine, no power. Just the natural way heat wants to climb and leave, if you only give it a door. The old builders built houses the same way. Most houses, even newer ones, already have these vents. Little slotted vents under the edge of the roof called soffit vents, and often a larger one up in the gable end. Here is the sad part. In half the houses I have ever been in, those vents are blocked. Somebody stuffed insulation against them from the inside. Somebody painted them shut. A bird built a nest. A wasp moved in. And the attic can no longer breathe. So this method, for most of you, costs nothing but an afternoon and a flashlight. Go up into your attic, carefully, on the boards, not the soft insulation, and look at the vents at the low edges and the high gable. See if they are clear. If they are stuffed or painted or nested, clear them out. Let the air move again. And if your attic has no vents at all, a louvered gable vent from the hardware store costs about $20, and any man who can cut a hole with a saw can fit one in a single day. A blocked attic that runs 150 degrees, once you let it breathe, will drop 20, even 30 degrees up there. And the rooms underneath, your bedrooms where you are trying to sleep, feel that difference by supper time. The heat that used to press down on your ceiling all night is gone out the top of the house where it belongs. Free most of the time. An afternoon's work, and it fixes the hottest part of the whole house. A word before we go on. Let me stop here for one moment because we are halfway, and this is worth saying. Everything I have shown you so far costs little or nothing, and that is the whole point of it. The old folk were not poor in their thinking, they were rich in it. They understood the sun and the air and the earth, and they made those three things do the work that we now pay a machine to do, and do badly. Nothing I have told you was invented in my lifetime. Every bit of it is older than this country, and it works as well today as it ever did. Now, back to the work. The next one is the longest game, and the one I would start today. The fourth method takes the most patience, and that is exactly why I want you to start it now, today, before the rest of the summer gets away from you. A big tree standing on the west and the south side of a house is the finest cooling machine ever made, and it was made by the Lord, not by any company. Think on what we said about the sun and the windows. The sun is the heat. If the leaves of a tall tree catch that sunlight up in the air 30 feet before it ever reaches your wall, then your wall stays cool. And a cool wall does not pour heat into your rooms all evening the way a baked wall does. One good tree on the hot side of a house can drop the work your house has to do by a quarter or more. Here is the honest word, and I will give it to you straight, because that is the only way I know how. A tree you plant today will not shade your house this summer. It is slow. It is a gift you plant for the family that lives in this house in 10 years. And often enough, friend, that family is your own. It is you, 10 years older, sitting cool in a room you made cool by an afternoon's work a decade back. Or it is your children. We plant anyway. That is simply what plain people do. We do things whose fruit we may not sit under, because somebody planted the shade we sit under now. But say you cannot wait 10 years. There is the quick way, and it works in one single summer. You build a simple trellis, just a frame of light wood, and you set it a foot away from your hot wall, not flat against the wall, a foot off it, so that air can pass up the gap behind. And you plant a fast-climbing vine at the bottom. Beans will do it, hops, gourds, morning glory, any quick green climber. In one summer, that vine covers the trellis and throws your wall into green shade, and the gap behind lets the trapped heat rise away instead of soaking into your house. A few dollars of seed and a little lumber, and you have shade on your worst wall by August. The reason it works so well is worth understanding. On a clear summer day, the sun lays down about 1,000 watts of energy on every square yard it touches. A big window facing south or west, fully in the sun, is taking in as much heat as a good-sized heater turned on full. Shade that window with a tree, with a vine, with the awning we spoke of, and you have turned that heater off. That is not a small thing. That is the difference between a cool room and a hot one. So plant the tree for the long years. Grow the vine for this very summer. Either way, you are turning the sun away before it ever becomes your problem. The fifth method. The English walk past every single day and never once understand what they are looking at. Go and look at any old farmhouse, mine, or any built before the machines came. You will see a deep porch, a real one, running along the south side, with a good roof over it. Now, most folks think that porch is just a pleasant place to sit of an evening, and it is. But that porch is not decoration, friend. That porch is a machine, and it was built by a man who understood the sun better than most builders do today. Here is how it works, and it is a beautiful thing. In summer, the sun rides high across the sky. That deep porch roof reaches out and throws the whole south wall and all its windows into shade through the entire hot middle of the day. The sun never touches the glass. But in winter, and this is the cleverness of it, the sun hangs low, down near the horizon, and it slips in underneath that very same porch roof and pours straight through the windows to warm the house when warmth is wanted. The same roof that shades you in July warms you in January. The house was built to know the difference between the seasons. It was built to work with the sun in summer and with the sun in winter. Most new houses have forgotten how to do either. Now, you may not have a deep old porch. Most folks don't anymore. But you can borrow the idea, and that is what matters. Anything that puts a roof of shade between the high summer sun and your glass will do the porch's work. A simple awning over the sunny window, a shade cloth stretched up on a couple of poles over the patio door or the deck, even a tarp rigged with care over the window that bakes worst. The old builder shaded his glass with the body of the house itself. You can do the same with a few dollars of cloth and an afternoon, and the room behind that shaded glass will run cool while your neighbor's bakes. A shaded window is a cool room. It is just that plain. and it has always been that plain. The sixth method is older than my grandfather, older than this country. The English had it too, every family, before the machines. And then, in 2 generations, they forgot it clean away. You take a bed sheet, a cotton one, you wet it through with cold water, and you wring it out just enough that it is not dripping a stream, but it stays good and damp. And you hang it across the open window where your night breeze comes through, or across a doorway with air moving through it. Now let me tell you why it works. Because the why is a wonder, and it is real science, not an old wives' tale. When water dries, when it turns from wet into vapor and floats off into the air, it has to pull heat out of everything around it to do that. It cannot turn to vapor without heat, so it steals that heat from the air passing by. The men of science measured it exactly. Every single pound of water that dries out of that sheet pulls about 1,000 units of heat out of the air going through it. 1,000. That is the very same measure your neighbor's air conditioning machine uses to rate its power. A wet cotton sheet in a window is doing real, measured cooling. The same kind of work as the machine, and it is doing it with no electricity, no motor, not one moving part. This is the same reason you feel a chill when you step out of the bath into a draft. The water drying off your skin is pulling the heat out of you. The Egyptians knew it 4,000 years ago and hung wet linen in their doorways. The Persians built tall towers to catch the wind and run it over water before it reached their rooms. The old Pennsylvania Dutch grandmothers tacked a wet panel across the kitchen window on baking days. All of them, separate, across the whole world and all of history, found the same truth. Because the chemistry of drying water has never once changed. How you do it is simple. A cotton sheet or an old bath towel, it must be cotton or linen, the natural fibers. The man-made cloth will not hold the water and will not work. Wet it, wring it, hang it flat across the window so the air passes through the cloth, not around it. Set a bowl or a bucket of cool water on the sill beneath it, and as that water dries up into the moving air too, it doubles the cooling. Re-wet the sheet every few hours when it dries out. The whole thing costs you nothing you do not already own. And now the honest word, because I will never sell you a thing that does not do what I say. This method works best where the air is dry. On a hot, dry afternoon out west or a dry June day here, it will drop the air coming through by 10, even 15 degrees, and you will feel it plain. But on a heavy, wet, muggy August evening, the kind we get here in Ohio, the air is already so full of water it cannot take much more, and the sheet will do little. We are plain people, not magicians, and I will not pretend otherwise. So use this one on your dry days. And on the muggy ones, lean on the night air and the closed shades instead. Know what each tool is for and use it for that. My mother hung the damp sheet by the bedroom window on the hottest dry nights of the year, and the children slept. That was the whole of its purpose, and it was purpose enough. The seventh method is the simplest thing I will tell you all day, and it is the one the English break every single evening without ever noticing. Here is a hard truth. Near half the heat in your house on a summer day, you made yourself. You made it. And the worst offender of all is the oven. You run an oven for 1 hour to bake a supper, and you have poured a great bucket of heat right into the middle of your home. And then, this is the part that would make my grandfather laugh and shake his head. Then you turn on the cooling machine, and you pay the power company a second time to haul that very same heat back out of the house. You paid to make the heat, and you paid again to remove it. 2 bills for 1 mistake. The old farm family solved this 100 years before anyone thought of it as a problem. They built a summer kitchen, a little separate building set off from the house, where all the hot summer cooking and the canning was done. The heat of the cook stove never once entered the house where the family lived and slept. Now, you do not need to go build a summer kitchen, but you need the idea of one, and you can use the idea this very week. Cook in the cool of the early morning, before the day has any heat, and let the food keep for later. Or cook outside altogether. A grill is nothing but a summer kitchen on 3 legs. When you have a big cooking to do it once, early, and eat off of it 2 or 3 days. And here is a thing worth saying plain. A cold supper on a hot July night is not poverty, friend. It is good sense. Bread and cheese and cold meat and a cold cellar drink on an evening too hot to cook. The old people ate that way on purpose, and they were the wiser for it. And the clothes dryer is the second thief. That machine makes as much heat as the oven and pumps it into your house, and you pay for the heat and pay again to cool it. A clothesline costs $8, and the sun does the drying for free, and your sheets come in off the line smelling like the wind and the day instead of like a hot tin drum. It is the plainest arithmetic there is. Every bit of heat you do not make inside your house is a bit of heat you do not have to pay any machine to carry back out. Stop making it, and you are already halfway cool. The 8th method is the one the old families leaned on hardest in the very worst of the heat, and it is one almost no one uses today, though most of you have it sitting right under your feet. Here is a truth about the ground that does not change. Go down a few feet below the surface of the earth, and the temperature there holds steady at around 50 to 60 degrees, all year long, summer and winter alike. The blazing sun overhead does not reach down there. The bitter January cold does not reach down there. The deep earth keeps one steady, cool temperature, the same in July as in January, because the ground itself is the greatest store of steadiness there is. That is why every Pennsylvania Dutch farmhouse, every old farmhouse in this whole country, built before the machines, had a cellar dug down into that cool earth. A real stone cellar, on a 95-degree day, sits at about 55 degrees inside, cool as a spring. And the old families did not just store potatoes down there. They lived down there in the worst of the day. Esther's grandmother and the women of every farm would carry the quiet afternoon work down into the cellar through the hottest hours, from noon till 4. Snapping the beans, peeling the apples, sorting the dried herbs. The men came in from the field at noon, ate, and stretched out for a short rest in the cool of the cellar before going back to the heat at 2. Now hear the lesson in that, because it is the whole secret of the method. They did not try to cool the whole house through the hot hours. That is a fool's errand, and an expensive one. They went to the one part of the house the earth kept cool for free, and they did the day's work and the day's resting there. They only needed the bedrooms cool at night, for sleeping, and the night air, caught the way I showed you, did that part. So here is what I want you to do, if you have a basement. Even a plain modern basement, with no stone to it, runs 65 or 70 when the upstairs is 85. It is the coolest room you own, and you are not using it. Set a comfortable chair down there. Set up a corner for the reading, for the children's play, for the quiet work, for the afternoon nap. Move the hot hours of your day down to where the earth keeps it cool. Then you stop fighting to cool the whole house against the noon sun, and you cool only the bedrooms at night, when the night gives you the cool for free. The families who learn this one change alone, this one, cut what they pay to cool the house near in half. The earth has been holding that cool down there the whole time, friend, steady and patient, waiting for you to remember to go down and use it. Now I want you to stop with me for a moment, because here is where it all comes together. And this is the part that matters most of all. Look back at what we have walked through. Turn the sun away outside the glass. Run the house on the night's cool and lock it in by day. Let the attic breathe out its heat. Plant the shade and grow the quick vine. Use the porch, or borrow its idea with an awning. Hang the wet sheet on the dry days. Stop making heat in your own kitchen, and go down to the cool of the earth in the worst of the hours. Here is the beautiful thing about it. Not one of these stands alone. They build on one another. Turn the sun away, and the house starts the day cooler. Catch the night and seal it in, and that cool stays trapped through the morning. Let the attic breathe, and the upstairs loses its furnace. Shade the walls, and they stop baking heat into the rooms all evening. Go to the cellar in the worst of the day, so you need only cool the bedrooms at night. Each one makes the next one work better. Put them together, a man who does all 8, and you have a house that hardly needs a machine at all. That is not my boast. That is how the Pennsylvania Dutch and the plain folk lived through 300 years of summers harder than this one, before there was a power line in the whole county. And let me give you the plain arithmetic of it, because numbers do not lie. The average family pays around $780 to cool their house across one summer. A man who lays in even half these methods will cut that by half or better. $300, $400, $500 in one summer. Over 10 years, that is $4,000 to $6,000 left in your pocket, money you keep, instead of money that goes humming out the window into the power company's hand. I will give you the honest scope, the same as I have all along. These methods all work, everywhere. But they work strongest in the dry country, the West, the mountains, the high plains, where the air is thirsty and the evaporation is quick. They work well in the middling country, through the Midwest and the Northeast, with somewhat smaller gains. And down along the wet Gulf and the southern coast, where the air is already heavy with water, the wet sheet method does less. But the shade, the night cool, the attic, the cellar, those still work, and even there you will cut your cooling by 1/4 or 1/3. Everywhere, friend, this is worth doing. So here's what I want you to do, and I will make it plain and small, because a thing too big never gets started. Tonight, before you go to bed, open every window in your house at sundown. Set the alarm on that telephone of yours for first light. And at dawn, before you do another thing, walk through and close every window and pull every shade. That one change, that costs you nothing but rising early one time, will leave your house 5 to 10 degrees cooler tomorrow than it was today. Just that. This week, find an old cotton sheet, find a bowl, and on a dry afternoon set the bowl of cool water in front of an open window and hang the wet sheet across it. Stand there in 20 minutes and feel the air come through. That will tell you, in your own house, with your own skin, that the old chemistry is real. And this month, if you have any yard at all, go to the west side of your house and plant one shade tree, even a small one. It will be the cheapest air conditioner you ever bought, and it will pay you back every summer for the rest of your life and your children's lives. Now I have a question for you, because the truth is, you teach me as much as I teach you. Tell me down in the comments, what did your power company charge you to cool your house last July? Put the number down. I would like to see it, and so would the other folks watching. And tell me this too. What did your own grandmother or grandfather do to keep cool in the summer before the machines? The wet cloth on the back of the neck, the cellar nap, the whole family sleeping out on the porch on the worst nights. Those little inherited ways are exactly the knowledge that gets lost forever when nobody writes it down. And some of you remember things I have never heard. I read every one. Slowly, but I read them. Next time, since today we spoke of keeping the house cool, I am going to show you how my people keep food cold all summer with no machine at all. The old cellar, the spring house, and how a man can dig and build a cool cellar into the side of a hill for almost nothing. It is the natural next step after today. Until then, turn the sun away at the glass, catch the cool of the night, and remember that the earth and the air have not changed their nature in 4,000 years. The Egyptians knew it. The old builders knew it. Your own great-grandparents knew it. You have only just now remembered. God keep you, friend. We will talk again.